Welcome to the newest edition of Chatting with Chumbler on Denton Community Television. I'm Dr. Neil Chumbler, Dean of the College of Health and Public Service, or as we call it, HPS, at the University of North Texas. Today we're going to explore the world of social work. The need for skilled social workers is expected to rise by 16% by 2026, much faster than average job growth. Social workers work in a variety of settings, including mental health clinics, schools, child welfare and human service agencies, hospitals, settlement houses, community development corporations, and private practices. Our Department of Social Work prepares our students for careers in this fast-growing field. Joining me today is Dr. Sharon Boland, Chair of the Department of Social Work, to give us a more in-depth understanding of the profession and the department. Welcome, Sharon, and thank you for being on the show. First of all, tell me about social work and why you think there is such a demand in skilled social workers.
Well, social workers used to work in the beginning of the profession in settlement houses, but subsequently we work in many fields of practice. We provide more than 50% of the mental health services that are delivered in the United States. We work a lot in healthcare, and that's becoming more and more true. Specifically, we work with older adults, and that population has grown dramatically and continues to grow in the United States. We are expecting 20% of the population by 2050 to be older people. And so that's an area of growth for us. We work in corporations, we work in fire departments. Wow. Actually, we have a very wide influence. In fact, we work in policy settings as well, doing policy development. So there are just a lot of opportunities for social workers in the future.
That's wonderful. How has the field of social work changed in the time since you've been involved as a social worker?
Well, I started in social work in 1976 and graduated with a master's degree in 1979. So I've been a social worker for 40 years. And I've seen a lot of growth and change during that period. I would say that we're doing a lot more research as social workers. We do interdisciplinary research, a lot of times community-based research, because our questions come from the community. Right. We're trying to address social problems that exist in the community through our research. Another change that's happened in our time has been that we've done more social justice work over time. I think that initially we were working in settlement houses with immigrants and refugees, and currently we work a lot with vulnerable populations, and we've reclaimed our kind of bid on working with populations that are new to the United States as well as those that are living in poverty. So that's been a very big focus for social work. Another place that is true is that we are working a lot with different disciplines. We are an interdisciplinary, we're very good at interdisciplinary work, and I'll say more about that.
Okay. What do you think the future looks like for the field of social work?
I think the field of social work is going to be, we're becoming much more computerized in all of our work. Technology is very big. We're big in telemedicine. We're doing more service delivery through peer trainings. So I think social workers will be doing a lot of the training for peer recovery type positions or specific positions. The positions will become more narrow. For instance, helping someone navigate through the Medicaid system or the Medicare system. And so we can train people on how to do that. We will be perhaps segmenting some of how we do intakes, triaging. Mental health services will be more targeted in short-term or brief encounters. And so I think we'll be doing a lot more of that. But technology is going to figure in very big to what we're doing in the future.
Oh, I'm sure. Let's talk a little bit about the department. I understand you're coming up on a milestone in regards to the social work program's accreditation.
Yes, we are in a candidacy for accreditation for our master's program. We have a joint master's program with Texas Women's University, and that began last year. We are going to be hopefully getting accreditation, receiving accreditation by 2020. By June 2020, we should have achieved that. And the program developed primarily because of the goodwill and collaboration that had been ongoing between University of North Texas and Texas Women's University over a long period of time. We have had BSW programs in operation, both institutions, for a very long time. And we recognized that there was not a master's program in our area. We have a very large population here. We're right next to the rural part of Texas, so we have a lot of opportunities to do rural social work as well. And a lot of our BSWs that had been trained at Texas Women's University and through our university were leaving the area. They were going away. They were going to school elsewhere. And we realized that we had a brain drain going on, and we needed to try to bring people back and get them established as master social workers in the Denton area.
What is the importance of the accreditation?
Accreditation? Accreditation ensures quality. That's what I would say. That's a short answer. It ensures quality. We have competencies that are central core competencies that we teach in every program, and that's across the United States.
I want to personally congratulate you because you're celebrating your first graduating cohort of students in the Joint Masters of Social Work program. Tell us about the program so our viewers understand what it is.
Yes, the program is for MSWs. It's a master's program for students who perhaps have had a bachelor's degree, or for people that might be coming into the field from other fields of practice. For instance, a criminal justice degree as an undergraduate, or let's say a law degree, or let's say a Bachelor of Arts in some other area. Someone who's entering the field would be undertaking 2-year program full time. It's very rigorous, but it's also a life-giving. There's an internship that's attached to it, so you'd be spending some time in the field. We believe that field work is kind of the heart of social work.
How did the program come about?
It came about through the efforts of faculty at TWU and faculty here, who again had collaborated over a long period of time and really saw the need.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Anything else I'd like to add? Okay. The world needs more interdisciplinary and holistic disciplines, and we are the primary discipline that works across disciplines, because we are interdisciplinary by nature. Our roots are in anthropology, sociology, economics. We cut across. We're liberal arts focused. We also are great problem solvers. We have good critical thinking skills. We are creative. I think that those things define social work, and also our holistic approach to people. We think about people in terms of psychosocial, spiritual dimensions of their personhood.
I agree. Thank you for your time, Sharon. When we come back, we'll learn more about the program that sets foster care alumni up for success at UNT, and hear about some of the exciting research happening in the department. We'll also get a student's perspective on the program.
Son, love is like the ocean. You have to tread the waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Jessica, will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
I'd like to welcome Brenda Sweden, Clinical Associate Professor, Director of Social Work Field Education, and UNT Foster Care Liaison Officer, to the show. Thank you for joining me, Brenda. Brenda is here to talk about her role as a UNT Foster Care Liaison Officer in the UNT PUSH program. So Brenda, tell me about what being the UNT Foster Care Liaison Officer entails.
Well, the role actually came about a couple of legislative sessions ago. And essentially what it means is every institution of public higher education in the state of Texas that receives public funding is required to essentially appoint one person on campus to serve as the foster care liaison officer. In that role, what we are to do is to make sure that any student who comes out of the conservatorship of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services has a go-to person on campus that can help them kind of navigate campus resources, help them understand the benefits that they might be eligible for as being a foster care alumni, so having experienced the foster care system. And we help broker those resources on campus and in the community to make sure that they are well supported as they try to pursue post-secondary education.
Tell me about the UNT PUSH program.
Sure. So the PUSH program really started, we kind of started working on it in 2011. We officially became a student organization in 2012, but the PUSH program is a grassroots effort that was started by a group of students and myself when we noticed that there were students on campus who had experienced foster care that really could use some additional support on campus. And initially, there was a young lady who I'd worked with back when I was in the child welfare system in the community, and I knew she'd come to UNT a couple of years prior, and I was working on a child welfare conference. We wanted to put together a panel of former foster care alumni that could talk a little bit about their experiences in foster care. And so I contacted her, and because I knew she was at UNT or had gone to UNT, and when I was able to reach her, I found out that she was no longer a student at this university, and which was shocking to me because this was actually a young lady who had come into foster care at age 15, and the first thing she said was, "I need to have a job." We soon discovered that she was extremely bright. She made a 1400 on her SAT. Came to UNT, was well supported while in the foster care system, but once she got here, something went wrong. And it wasn't that she couldn't handle the academic rigor of coming to college. It really was the financial piece, the social piece, the emotional piece, and that she lacked that kind of support. And I really felt sad about it. I thought, wow, it's really unacceptable that we have someone who has so much potential and not be able to make it at our university. And so around that same time, I met another student. His name was Jackie Davis, who was a psychology major at the time, but he was friends with a graduate assistant in our department, and she connected us. And I was able to talk to Jackie, and as I met him, I started to meet other students who had experienced the foster care system, and I kind of got them together, and I asked them, I said, if we supported foster care alumni on our campus, would you be like, I don't want anybody to know that about me, that's kind of my history, it's my past, or would that be something that you'd be interested in? And they were very enthusiastic and said, we of course would want to be a part of that. And so we contacted Dr. Mo McGinnis, our Dean of Students, and mentioned, hey, we'd like to have a program. And so she put us in touch with Melissa McGuire, who at the time was the Director of Orientation and Transition Services here on campus. And she suggested that we start a student organization, which wasn't really what I had in mind initially, to be honest with you, because I was thinking we need a program. I think bigger. I came out of the nonprofit world, and so I think, why can't we have a program? But I'm a rule follower, and I know that there's a way to get to where you're headed, and so we did start a student organization, which was very much influenced by the students. And so they named this organization PUSH. It's an acronym for Persevere Until Success Happens. And one of the things that the students wanted to do was they wanted to tell their stories in the community. And having come from the community, I was like, I know places where you can tell those stories. Right. And so we started putting in proposals for conferences, both regionally and statewide. We actually have spoken at a national CASA conference before. And as the students went out into the community and started to tell their stories, and it was really based upon advocacy. They wanted to advocate for other youth who are in foster care and educate, foster parents, child protective services workers, court-appointed special advocates, lawyers, therapists, people who were involved in the child welfare system. And in telling their stories, their advocacy was able to really set the stage for a program here at UNT. So their grassroots efforts really helped us become a program, because essentially what happened was people started to offer resources. And those were financial resources, those were in-kind resources, and then it grew tremendously from there.
How many students are currently part of the program?
So this academic year, we have 128 students on our campus who we have been able to identify as what we call foster care alumni. So those are students who have experienced the foster care system at some point during their youth. That could mean that they aged out of foster care at age 18, 17 or 18 usually. They may have been adopted out of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, or they may have been reunified with parents but yet still experienced abuse, neglect, removal, foster care, and then reunification. And so these students are eligible for a state tuition and fee waiver, And we get that list of waivers, we find our students, and so 128 this year, which is a 48% increase over the last 4 years. So we've had tremendous growth in the number of foster care alumni we have on campus.
That's
I've always said if you build it, they will come, and they have.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I understand that you recently received a grant from the Carl B. and Florence E. King Foundation. Can you tell me how it will help with the PUSH program?
Sure. So we've written a grant, and clearly we were awarded it. And we wrote that grant specifically for the PUSH Summer Bridge program. So last summer, 2018, we piloted a very small summer bridge program. We had 6 students. We kind of got it funded with a graduate assistant at the very last minute, and we threw it together. But it was really successful. So we had 6 students last summer, and the King Foundation grant will allow us to grow that summer bridge program. Essentially what we're doing is we are recruiting youth in foster care who will be first-time in college students here at UNT, as well as transfer students who will be first-time at UNT, to come and be part of this program that will be structured and provide really nice support, academic support, social support. We'll throw in some community service in there. They will have a curfew, which we found last summer is helpful and necessary. We provide study sessions for them, and then we'll also have some special programming for them, including other PUSH students that might still be around campus during the summer. And really the purpose of that is to help kind of acclimate them to campus life, help them understand what resources are going to be available to them both on campus and in the community, and also just kind of get them to a structured environment where they can be successful going into the fall, where they kind of learn study skills, meet some peers, and get a grasp of campus life and how it all works.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to say, I think we're really especially positioned here in the Metroplex to serve foster care alumni that come out of the DFW region. The Child Protective Services DFW region really encompasses about 19 counties, and we are, there are other institutions in the area that do support foster care alumni, but UNT does it really well. And I'm very proud of that fact. That obviously that's the numbers have grown tremendously, but as a public institution, I think that really it's our duty to make sure that we're reaching back into the community, supporting some of our most vulnerable people in the community, and making sure they get an education. One of the things that we know about foster care alumni is about 70% of them say that they want to go to college. Only about 10% ever make it to a college campus, and only about 2 to 3% ever graduate with a bachelor's degree. I see programs like PUSH being a life-changing opportunity where students can come, they can get those resources, they can get the support, they can be successful, and then it's a cycle breaker. We're breaking the cycle of abuse and neglect, we're breaking the cycle of poverty, and that benefits not only these students specifically and their future families, but the community as a whole.
You're doing wonderful things, Brenda. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay tuned. When we return, we'll hear about one student experience in the social work program, and coming up later we'll learn how one of our faculty will be shaping the future of mental health care in India.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to the show. HPS prides itself on student-centered learning that prepares our graduates with the skills needed to be career ready when they leave our college and join the workforce. I'd like to introduce you to Alyssa Iniguez, a senior in the undergraduate social work program, to give you an idea of her experience. She is also the president of the UNT Social Work Student Association. Thank you for joining us, Alyssa.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us why you chose UNT.
Well, my hometown is San Antonio, and when I graduated high school, I knew that I kind of wanted to gain my independence more, find my own niche in a different community. So one day I took a campus tour after visiting UD, because that was one of my options, and it kind of just happened on a whim. I thought maybe we should go to UNT, sounds like a beautiful campus, and sure enough, when we went there, my mother and I were blown away by the resources that they had here and the number of programs that they also had, because I was sort of undecided as a graduating high school senior. And once I also saw the Denton community, I just fell in love and knew that I wanted to enroll and be a student here at UNT.
Well, tell us a little bit about your student experience here in the college.
So I've been a resident here at the campus since my freshman year, and during that time I've just been surrounded by so many opportunities and programs that are open to me, such as starting a student organization, being a part of a student organization, joining different honors programs, which was really exciting for me. A little bit overwhelming, but once you talk to different students there and network with them and decide what would be the best path for you, that was really easy for me. And also just being a part of the campus, everyone here is so diverse and so welcoming to different students. We all feel like we have a voice here, and that's what I really enjoyed about being a student here.
Wonderful. What has been the most rewarding part of being in this degree program?
So as I said before, I was a little undecided about what program I wanted to be a part of, what major I wanted to have, but I knew deep down that I wanted to help other populations and give back to the community that had helped me so much in my past. So I found social work, and during the time I didn't really have a good understanding of what social work was. A lot of the society views it as just helping children and families. So when I took the course of Introduction to Social Work, I found out that there was just a vast number of fields open to social work students out there. You're not just working with families and children. It's pretty much from infancy all the way to end of life, and there's just so many different options and opportunities that are open to all the students there. That was one of the best rewarding parts that I felt for me, that I would find my place somewhere in the field of social work. And another one is just knowing that you're developing the skills, knowledge, and training that is necessary to better serve populations that are vulnerable or under-resourced in our communities.
Wonderful. Well, tell us about some of the hands-on experiences you've received in the college.
So outside of the classroom, students are expected to do service learning projects throughout those 2 years in the program. Some examples of them: we've been a part of Our Daily Bread, which is in the Denton community. They serve people who are experiencing homelessness. We do that by doing intake, providing them with free food, and also giving them necessary hygiene products that they need. In other parts of the course, we've done activities with Denton Rehab, helping the residents there, leading activities that are kind of just give a little bit of joy in their life, being in there, or not in their life, but in their day. Doing bingo, arts and crafts, or Jeopardy is what we did in the past. And then recently in my Practice 3 course, we did community outreach to the Denton community to service an agency called Kyle's Place. And they provide resources for children in Louisville or Denton County who are also currently experiencing homelessness. So we did that by reaching out to either restaurants to provide us with donations, or different associations such as the Firefighter Association in Denton. And we're proud to say in my class that we raised about $8,000 in monetary donations and physical items for the residents of Kyle's Place.
So these are a lot of wonderful hands-on experiences. Have you had any other internships? Or?
So I just finished the process of getting my internship complete. I will be starting it in the fall. Our amazing Professor Sweeten, who is the field director, she chose me to go to Visiting Nurses Association, Ann's Haven in Denton, and that's they do services such as hospice, palliative care, and Meals on Wheels. So I am very excited about that. I've been in communication with the staff there, and they're all very welcoming, and they even provided me with some resources to prepare my skills during the summer to start.
Why would you recommend this degree to others?
I would recommend this degree to others because not only in the classrooms are you learning about ethics, policies, and core competencies that are so important in social work, and the values that they really ingrain to the students, such as service and importance of human relationships and dignity and worth of a person. You're also really finding your voice in those classes, advocating for what you truly believe in and what you think will make the world a better place. And every student that I'm surrounded with and every faculty, we all want to make a career out of helping others, helping vulnerable populations. So I've just been surrounded by the most passionate and advocating people that I've ever known. So it's been really incredible experience.
Wonderful. Tell us about what you're doing with the UNT Social Work Student Association.
So the Social Work Student Association has been around since I believe 2012. I was currently the president of the Social Work Student Association, but thankfully we've been kind of passing the torch on to incoming officers.
Good.
Our main focus is creating campus awareness of socio-political issues, and we do that by both advocating and volunteering in the community. Some examples of that is that we did a child awareness campaign over in the UNT campus recently for April. It was the Child Abuse Awareness Month. And in March, which is we had Advocacy Day. And during that, students of the program and students of the Social Work Student Association, we all took a trip to the capital of Austin. And while we were there, we had the chance to advocate for policies that we were either for or against with legislators there. And at the same time, we were able to attend panels that were run by social workers of Texas that focused on important issues such as immigration, LGBTQ rights, and racial rights as well.
What career path are you hoping to pursue?
So as I said before, there's a lot of fields of social work that are open to the students here in the program. There are so many that I am very interested in and open to right now. I'm thinking about continuing my academia and getting a master's program after I graduate with my BSW. And so probably one of my concentrations would be as a hospital social worker, trying to learn more about the medical field of social work, and then focusing later on military personnel and the families and how they're affected by that.
Wonderful. How has the program helped you be career ready?
So the students and the faculty over at the social work program really encourage students to have a voice, not just in the classrooms, but also outside. They really encourage everyone to be involved and network outside with different social work agencies. Over the advisors here at the college are also really open to any questions that you have, such as, like I said, enrolling in graduate school or different careers that could be open to me with my degree. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your experience here in the program?
So the big saying in our social work program is be the change that you want to see in the world. And a lot of the students and I really value that and have that ingrained in our mind. I'm proud to say that my worldviews have changed significantly throughout the world with different types of human development that we've learned. Social workers really know that human diversity really shapes and characterizes a person's situation. So a lot of us in the class really know that a human's life is important, and their situation that they are in, there has to be many sides to their story. There can't be just one side, which unfortunately society today kind of views with people who are in vulnerable situations. So having that value changed with me is something that I'll definitely cherish for the rest of my life.
That's wonderful. Thank you for being here, Alyssa.
Thank you.
We can't wait to see the difference you make in this world. Coming up, we'll be joined by Dr. Drew Mukherjee, who will talk about an upcoming trip where he and students will be having an impact on mental health services in India.
Nobody likes an awkward silence, but you can actually use it for something good.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
I'd like to welcome Dr. Drew Mukherjee to the show. Drew is an associate professor in the Social Work for Joint Master of Social Work program. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your areas of interest.
I primarily work in mental health workforce development. So, it is about, there are two things in mental health is your competence, standardization of practices, and I'm very involved in creating trauma-informed workforce development, mostly in rural communities, identifying ways of mental health professionals doing self-care and also finding out ways to, how rural communities can respond systematically in creating more trauma-informed mental health workforce and change policies as our mental health profession is moving towards more of a technologically hybrid communities. So, so my area of interest is how to create those standardizations where mental health professionals can find some kind of standardized practice.
That's a very important work. I understand you were recently awarded a UNT's International 2019 India Venture Fund. What do you plan to do with the funds?
India had traditionally been a country where mental health has not been recognized at all. Mental health stigma is very high. But over the last two decades, India has a almost $300 million middle class who are in the urban pockets of the country seeking professional help for mental health other than all other unverified, non-evidence-based practices that had been prevalent. So we are having a variety of professions, including psychologists, counselors, social workers, who are jumping in the fray, starting their business. There are hospitals recruiting social workers. There are professional degrees of social workers. But then when we look at this part of demand-driven creation of a profession, I asked myself what are the guardrails are in place? What are the regulatory mechanisms are in place? I'm not saying that in the United States it is the best, but in the United States we have almost 60 years of regulatory mechanism creation. There is an infrastructure where there is accreditation of a program. There are supervised practice experience. There is American social workers boards that implement the licensure exam. Then upon licensing, if you want to do certification or any kind of specialized practices, then you have to go through supervised practice and then certify and your competence. So how do you claim competence? What do you need to do in order to claim competence is very well established in the United States. We have a lot of work to do here, but in India right now we don't have any, and people are doing it completely on an ad hoc basis on their own. So I want to go and do some exploratory studies. I looked into the literature. It doesn't look like people are doing much about it. Recently, India has made social work as a non-profession. It's kind of in the gray area. So it needs a lot of research and advocacy to establish some kind of regulatory mechanism for people who are seeking mental health services, because if you can certify your competence, you're protecting your client.
Wonderful. What made you to decide to choose this specific project?
It's during my I am from India originally, so during my process visits to the country, I found that people who are starting their own social work practice, social work therapy practice, are doing things without any kind of National Association of Social Workers or regulatory bodies. People are just Google searching things and claiming competence, seeing a couple of videos of cognitive behavioral therapy and then claiming that they know it. So I have seen that, and I feel that there are people who are really paying for these services, and mental health profession itself is very small, but it has a tremendous potential to grow as the attitude change to a more scientific way of receiving care. So I think that this is completely a virgin area that I want to work on, and try to make some preliminary data on which advocacy can be created.
So how do you hope to use your findings from this venture to India?
I plan to create a exploratory study, find out what people currently doing, and from United States, Australia, and other literature, try to find out what are the different mechanisms, regulatory mechanisms that are in place right now, and then create platforms to talk about it, create a buzz, have people who are currently practicing mental health in India to form organization, advocate to state to create some kind of a licensing procedure. We have a long way to go. So I think that someone needs to set the ball rolling, and doing it through some kind of evidence-based research would be the best way to go. So,
what other research are you involved in?
I am currently looking at doing a project which is about financial literacy among social workers.
Oh, wow.
When we talk about self-care, most of the time we talk about how we should meditate, how we should take care of ourselves, how we should sleep, how we should do exercise. But social work is one of the lowest paying human service profession. We have mid-level social workers on an average making $49,000 a year, and which is like almost $6,000-7,000 below the median income in the United States. So self-care, self-care is a very important thing, and a lot of strategies are good, but there is a lot of financial avoidance. So when a student I meet, they talk about, they want to join social work profession, but they're not sure whether they're going to be poor for the rest of their life. I do not think so. I think the economy is changing. There's a lot of side hustles and gigs and a lot of way you can add value to your profession, which can be monetarily rewarding. And it is important that social workers are literate and competent about their finances and be open to talk about finances. There's a lot of psychological avoidance to finance. And some people also have, very negative experience from predatory financial advisors. So I am creating a survey and doing some kind of trying to seek some funding from local foundation to create some a training module so that address this issue not only from the psychological financial avoidance perspective, but also from knowledge perspective, and social workers training social workers and including financial well-being into the lexicon of self-care.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I mostly talked about my research, but I really commend you to do this for our profession. One of the things I want to add is that, not many people know that social workers form almost 70% of mental health professionals in the United States. The DSM, that is the Bible of all mental health, diagnosis, 70% of its customers are social workers.
Oh, wow.
And if you are doing an undergraduate in social work, you do your master's in social work in 2 semesters. So you are into advanced practice. So we get a lot of students who are from psychology and others, undergraduate majors, and they're thinking about whether to do social work or not. The only thing is, if you do undergraduate in social work in your master's program, it becomes accelerated. And that's a very important thing I want to highlight. It's a growing profession, as you mentioned, and I think that I wanted to mention those 2 things.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today, Drew. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you, viewers, for joining us as we explore the Department of Social Work. Don't forget, I do have a blog, Chatting with Chumbler, that will help you stay up to date on what we're doing in the College of Health and Public Service. You can find it at hps.unt.edu/chatting-chumbler. Also, you can join me in the Chilton Hall Atrium for Coffee with Chumbler a few times each semester. It's an opportunity to enjoy a cup of coffee with me and ask me any questions you may have about the college. It's important to me that I'm available to listen and get to know all of you. For dates and times, visit our website at hps.unt.edu or follow us on Facebook and Twitter via the handle @UNTHPS. Thank you again for joining us today. I look forward to continuing to show you our successes and taking you with us on our journey as we shape the future leaders of tomorrow. I'll see you next time here on Chatting with Chumbler, where we'll bring in our experts to tackle relevant topics related to health and public service.